Welcome to episode 74 of How About Them Huskies. I'm Connor. I got Matt with me, and for the second straight year, we keep on saying this, but it's true. The year of our podcast, our second national championship game preview, the Huskies are in the title game for the second straight year. They defeated Alabama Saturday night in the Final Four. A complete team effort in that one. All five starters in double figures. Stephon Castle had not his breakout games. We've seen him do this before, but tied his career high with 21 points, really dominated that first half. One of the only reasons you were in it in that first half. It was a close one. We'll talk about the whole game though. But before we start, Matt, I mean, this was our closest tournament game we've had. Well, not technically because the Miami game was 13 points. This was 14, but all in all, this was the closest game we've had the past 2 years. What was your reaction as it went down?
It's pretty crazy that this is considered our closest game because we covered a double-digit spread, which is never a good thing if you're on the wrong side of that. Hurley was asked earlier about winning close games. We don't allow ourselves to be in close games. We kind of, we start in close games, but usually we beat you by death of a thousand cuts. We'll slowly just kind of chip away at you until, you're down 10. You don't even really know how that happened. And then we just start pulling away, and next thing you know, it's you're losing by 14, and you can't really crawl back into it. You got to start checking up desperation shots like Alabama did at the end of the game, and overall, we kind of just engulf the opponent and just buckets and great defense. So, shout out to the Huskies for that.
Yeah, this game, like you said, it was close at the beginning. Bama started 8 for 11, if I'm not mistaken, from three. That's unheard of, especially with us. I mean, we've struggled. We probably made eight threes total our last two or three games the way we've been shooting it. But they were on fire. They were in it. Sears was hitting a bunch of them. Aaron Estrada, Grant Nelson. They have a lot of talented players. They're in the Final Four for a reason. But we just really picked it up in the second half. It was the Clingan attack most in the second half. Down low, Caravan got it going from deep. Spencer, Newton down the stretch as well. Really, like I said, a collective effort, all five starters in double figures. And even off the bench, Samson Johnson had a couple of big slams like he usually does, some breakthrough in the paint. Diarra didn't score, but his impact was there as always. 5 rebounds, played some solid defense. Stewart got some run in the Final Four, some meaningful run, which was good to see. But all in all, we've really leaned on that starting lineup all year with five guys that average double figures, and they really, really showed out.
And Alabama had an obvious game plan coming in, which was kind of let Castle, do his thing, shoot the ball, trust that he's not going to make it, which he shot kind of subpar. He only shot 2 of 6. But that was it from the three. He kind of understood that, and he did get in the paint. He was very effective inside the arc. Obviously, had 21.7 of 13, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He did his thing. You can't deny that. But I don't think that they really planned for what would happen when Hassan Diarra was on the floor. Obviously, he didn't, put up, the big points numbers, the big point totals. But the big thing coming into this game was, could UConn hang with Alabama? Just cardio wise, running up and down the floor. And Diarra, I think, was one of the main reasons that we were really able to stay in it. And, getting 23 minutes out of Diarra is just fantastic. That's, six man of the year stuff, obviously six man, Big East six man of the year. So it was really great to see him come in and just have that big of an impact without scoring.
Yeah, we mentioned in our preview episode how Bama fans were saying that they can't run with us. They're sharing clips of them doing those middle school drills, running up and down the floor, just for them to get zero fast break points against the Huskies. That's like, I don't know. I just find that funny. That's what they were hyping up. You can't run with us. No way. We're much faster. Don't get a single fast break point. We only had two, but doesn't matter. We held them to zero. That's not really our. We do a lot better in our sets as opposed to running, even though we can run as well. But there's not really much more to say from this one. It was a 14-point win. We kind of broke away. It was tied at, I want to say 56. It was the second half started. We each had seven, like a 7-0 run, 7-0 run, 7-0 run. So it never really got away from that close game, but we really picked it up at the end with some clutch threes late from Caravan. Newton had one. Just really, really impressive way that really pull away. I was worried Andrew Hurley's streak of playing in NCAA tournament games may come to an end. It was looking because you're not going to put him in if it's a 5, 6 point game, but broke away. He ended up dribbling it out. It was really just a perfect way to end it and back to the national title game. And unless you're living under a rock and you don't know who we're playing in the title game, it's the title game of all title games. UConn versus Purdue, the Huskies and the Boilermakers, clearly the two best teams over the past 2 years meeting in this championship game. Purdue looking for the ultimate redemption. They lost to FDU obviously last year, 16 over and one. They're back, not back though. I guess back. They haven't been here since 69 or 80, whatever it is, to the title game. But the Huskies looking to repeat. A lot of storylines in this game. Matt, what's your initial reaction to this one? I'm really excited. I wanted to see it at the same time. You want to see NC State win that game for an easier championship, but either way, this is going to be a really exciting one.
Yeah, I feel like this is the game that we've kind of been waiting for now for, since Clingan has been on UConn essentially, because you want that big man matchup of Clingan and Edey. It was a little bit of a fun one in the semifinal between Edey and DJ Burns, but obviously you want to see the big guys go at it. Clingan listed at 7-2, Edey listed at 7-4. Both a little bit of kryptonite here for, the other's team. So we haven't really seen anybody like Edey. I'd say the closest that we've seen is Kalkbrenner, but he's definitely more of a defensive stopper. And Purdue has not seen anybody like Clingan. So is Edey going to be able to be as dominant as he's been throughout the tournament, averaging 25 points per game? We'll have to see. But I'm super excited just for that matchup, and I think that they'll kind of cancel each other out in a way, and it will come down to the guards. So we'll see with that.
If it does come down to the guards, which I agree, I feel like it may end up doing. Purdue has a solid group. They have Braden Smith, who was a finalist for that Bob Cousy award that Tristan Newton won. So also shout out to Newton for winning that. I didn't think he would because I feel like he's getting undervalued a lot with all these awards and stuff, not winning Big East Player of the Year, but wins Bob Cousy award. So I don't know how that makes sense, but Braden Smith's a solid guard. Foster, Fletcher Lawyer, whichever lawyer, I forget which one it is. He has another brother as well. Lance Jones. They got a really, really solid group. Jones had 14, Lawyer had 11. Smith only had 3 points against NC State, but did have 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He's kind of like Newton in a sense that he stuffs the stat sheet in the other categories. But I don't know. We both have very talented backcourts. I like ours a little bit better, especially the way Castle played against Alabama. We know what you get from Cam, you know what you get from Newton, but it's going to be a close one. I truly do feel like we snap our double digit win streak if we win this game. I don't think we beat this team by 10 or more.
And then you mentioned Fletcher Lawyer. He has been shooting 50%, upwards of 50% throughout the whole tournament. So you're going to need guys out on the perimeter to step up on that. And, it could leave space for Edey. I feel like that is, one of the reasons why Purdue has been so dominant because they can hit you from everywhere, just like we can. We have shooters, they have shooters. We have interior presence, they have interior presence. So it's really going to come down to, obviously that perimeter defense and, whose guards could get the better of this matchup.
And one thing I'm looking at in the box score here, which could get interesting for us because we know Sampson's going to play his handful of minutes. He does every game, probably like 15 or so on a good night. Zach Edey played 40 minutes against NC State and didn't come out of the game. So, assuming you don't change up your game plan, you obviously have Clingan on Edey for a majority of the game, but there's still a good chunk of it. You're going to have a Sampson guarding him, which I don't know how much I like that. Obviously, he's going to be on him. There's nothing you can do about it, but I just feel like I don't know. It's like he's prone to some silly fouls, and it could be a rough night for Sampson. That's all I'm going to say. But Edey playing 40 minutes, I assume he'll do the same in the title game. I mean, there's no reason not to unless you're in foul trouble. Clingan's going to be tested. I think we may see a season high in minutes out of Donovan. That's maybe my first prediction I'll make in this one.
You're not going to be able to take him out if he gets two quick fouls. There's just no way. You're going to have to play him at least 30 minutes. I can't remember the last time Clingan was able to actually, make 30 minutes, just due to him needing to be on the floor in important moments of the game. But with Edey playing 10 more minutes, I feel like Hurley will be able to kind of see what Edey's doing and kind of, manage Clingan to get 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and still be just as effective.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Edey doesn't get into too much foul trouble because I'm not saying he doesn't guard, but watching him, he doesn't contest a lot of shots. I mean, he picks and chooses. He gets a block or two a game, but if you blow by him, he doesn't usually try to slap from behind, which is really interesting to me. That's something Clingan really makes a living on, getting those blocks. But Edey, a little more passive on the defensive end, which allows him to stay on the floor. Not say if Clingan didn't play defense, he'd be out there for 40 minutes, but it's just something I noticed. I mean, maybe we could use that as an advantage, even though he's a big presence and hard to get around. I mean, ask DJ Burns, who's been NC State's best player. He didn't have a great night against Purdue, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe we could attack him more than we think.
And I think it's going to be impossible for Purdue to kind of play with Edey that way, not being there trying to block shots because Clingan will go over him. Clingan doesn't care. Clingan will dunk on him. Clingan will do that big drop step and just lay it in. And we have guys who are aggressive towards the rim. Caravan, Castle. These are guys who want to get inside and want to get easy buckets. So if Edey doesn't, try and get to these shots, we're gonna have three guys all around the rim ready to just place it there. So I'm a little curious to see how they run with that.
I just pulled up the stats for Clingan's minutes. His career high was in the Big East Championship against Marquette. He had 31. The second most was actually this Bama game. He played 29. So I expect him to be at least 30 against Zach Edey because you need to match big guy for big guy. Even if I mean Sampson's a good player, but him on Edey for an extended period of time could be the difference in this game. And I just think we need a lot of Donovan.
There could be a massive issue, which is Zach Edey tends to draw a lot of fouls, and Clingan, who is prone to foul trouble, could get into some trouble early. DJ Burns, how many fouls did he have? I'm trying to find it. I can't. Oh, he had three fouls. Diarra had two. So that's five fouls drawn there just on those two. If we pull it back to their game before that against Tennessee, their front court had I do had three fouls, and Mashak ended up fouling out, obviously a guard, but um, these like Edey has a really easy time just drawing fouls and being able to, get to the basket. So we could see Clingan in early foul trouble, which could, force Sampson into the game a little bit. But I mean, I'm really curious to see, how this game is played, whether they let him play or not, because if they let the guys play, then I feel like we might be in good shape, but if not, then we could get screwed a little bit.
Yeah, Edey is really a mixed bag with the free throw line. Not making it, but like how many attempts he takes. He only took two against NC State. He took 22 against Tennessee. So there's a big difference there. I mean, he was getting hacked and they weren't calling it. I was at the game. I was sitting near some Purdue fans. They were complaining. They complained about every single time he touched it, which is a little unrealistic. But he was certainly getting hacked and they weren't calling it. Because what do you have to hack him if you're what 6'8", 6'9" DJ Burns? You can't like block his shot. You have to do something. It's just we have a guy that is similar size to him, so hopefully there won't be as many fouls. But if I'm Donovan, I almost don't go for blocks on him. Just put your hands straight up and just interfere with his vision. I mean, not a lot. He hasn't seen a guy that big go against him. That'll maybe affect him. Just you don't need to block a shot to be effective. I'm sure Donovan obviously knows that. What Illinois shot 0 for 19 against him directly, so he knows he doesn't have to block every single shot. But I feel like certainly an emphasis to have. You don't want to commit silly fouls trying to block a Zach Edey hook shot.
And on the topic of fouls, obviously, this Alabama game is a big one for this. Obviously, a lot of Alabama fans. I don't mean to, bring us back to this, but I feel like we should mention it. A lot of the Alabama fans were not happy with the refereeing. I really don't agree. We had 17 fouls and they had 15. It was pretty even. Obviously, UConn the better defensive team, just in my honest opinion. We are the better defensive team. We're going to be cleaner on defense. We're going to be able to get those steals. We're going to be able to force those turnovers. When Alabama is more of a run and gun, we're going to shoot the three-pointer until we miss kind of team. I feel like um, we did a good job on defense. I don't feel like it was really that lopsided. I feel like if we come in with the same defensive energy that we had against Alabama, that will be fine, and we won't really get into any foul trouble.
Yeah, we had more shooting fouls, I would say, so we took more free throws, but like you said, the fouls are pretty even between us and Alabama, but they kind of hurt themselves if we're going. I agree. We don't really want to go back on it, but while we're talking about it, they started 8 for 11. They finished 11 for 23. That's finishing 3 for 12 from three, which isn't awful, but the way you were shooting, the way you have to shoot to beat the number one overall seed, that's not going to cut it. So you could blame the fouls if you want, but I look more at the second half shooting and the lack of fast break points. But whatever. Alabama's going home. We're playing Monday night. And I guess we can go to our players to watch for this one. Who you got, Matt?
I feel like there's so many different options here. I've mentioned The backcourt, obviously, Clingan and Edey is ginormous. It's a ginormous matchup. No pun intended, but I'm gonna go with Steph Castle. Obviously, the freshman here in the championship game, coming off a 21 point performance. I want to see how he attacks the paint with Edey there, and if Purdue, lets him take some shots, obviously with the smaller guards, will he be able to make them? I want to see him replicate, maybe not replicate that performance, but if he can do even half of that. Say he gets 11 points and 3 rebounds and assists, and we win, and he shoots efficiently. That would be good. I'd be fine with that. I just want to see him be aggressive towards Edey, possibly get Edey in foul trouble. If not, get those easy buckets. And I feel like the game kind of flows through him here. The ball's in his court.
Yeah, and there's two I want, but I'm only going to go with one. I'll mention the other. I think Samson could, because those minutes are going to be crucial with him in the game. So he really has to play the best that he's played. But I'm going to go Tristan Newton because he's been on this stage before. He had 19 points, 10 rebounds in last year's national championship. He seems to really break out when the lights are brightest. He had a solid game against Alabama. He struggles from three, which has been a trend with him as of late, I feel like, but he gets his points elsewhere. He gets his rebounds and assists. I feel like if we win this game, it's gonna have to be because your first team All American Bob Cousy winner gets you there. I know Castle had the big game, like you said, but can he replicate that? Maybe. Cam Spencer, you're getting a solid 14, 15 out of him with a few threes. Caravan the same. You really need Newton to step it up in this one, especially going against Braden Smith, who is a point guard just as good as him. Maybe Newton hasn't really seen outside of maybe a Tyler Kolek, a point guard, or Mark Sears as well, but that was really Castle's matchup. He hasn't really seen a point guard as good as him, a similar size as him. It's going to be a really interesting matchup between Newton and Smith, but we need Tristan to ball out like he usually does in national championship games. I think we're almost wrapped up here. Not too much more to say. I'm just really excited this matchup finally happened. I mean, we were talking about it like we're the Gavitt games, the Big East Big Ten Challenge came out. It's an obvious reigning champs with Clingan against Edey. That didn't happen for some reason. I don't know why, but we've always wanted to see this matchup. Purdue, I mentioned this in the open there, they're on the redemption tour. That worries me a little bit because historically, every single team that's lost to a one that's lost to a 16 has won the title the next year and not producing the title game. So that worries me a little bit. But at the same time, the Big Ten can't win a championship. They haven't won one in almost 25 years. So there's a little bit of a which will give type of scenario there. But I don't know. It's just going to be a really exciting game. There's a lot of Purdue fans here in Arizona. They travel really well. More Purdue than UConn, I'll admit that. But they're a much larger school, so you expect it. It's their first Final Four. You expect them to show out, but this is going to be a really, really exciting game. A perfect way to end the season. Obviously, you want to win if you're UConn. Clearly, we want to win, but win or lose, just a dominant year, and it's going to be a historic title game. That's for sure.
And the big thing is I just want, the UConn fans to kind of soak this one in. Obviously, this is going to be the last game at UConn for a lot of these guys. Obviously, you have your guarantees, Newton and Spencer and Diarra. These guys aren't coming back, but also guys like Clingan, guys like Castle, and possibly even um, Caravan. We have no idea with him, but we obviously saw what happened last year. I feel like kind of got ahead of ourselves coming into this year. We just blew everybody away, and then it's happening again now. So we should really just kind of, for the next day, just kind of take time to enjoy the fact that we're playing in back-to-back national championship games because a few years ago we were not making it out of the first round and we had some great players, but I mean this group of guys is just obviously special and this core is very special. So just throughout the game, just be appreciative that this squad was able to kind of all come together and be as dominant as it has been over the past 80 games and just kind of soak in, having a winning team because a lot of other schools can't really, you know, think like that. So,
And yeah, I agree. I mean, we made back-to-back Final Fours. I mean, you got to really appreciate that. I mean, we made two straight. We could not make another one for 30 years. We could not make another one ever. You never know what this tournament and this sport with all the turnover and all that. I mean, it looked really, really dark, 6 years ago for us. So I don't think any of us saw us to be in this situation that quick. And 6 years from now, we could easily be back in that under 500 situation. But I don't know. I don't know if we expected to be back here. I mean, picture where we were. a year ago. We know Hawkins is gone. Snogo, maybe, probably. Jackson, maybe, probably. We don't know what's coming in, but we made it back. We're probably gonna be in a similar spot in a few days. I mean, there's no way we can get back with the guys we have, but you never know. We're bringing in a solid class. I say Abraham. He's not the main attraction. That's Ahmad Noel, but I'm sure some of you guys watched the Chipotle National, the high school tournament. Abraham made the finals, but lost to, unfortunately, not a UConn commit, Cooper Flag. But Abraham looked really solid. He's a much bigger than I thought he was, and a much better shooter than I thought he was. So he's going to be impactful from day one next year, and Noel obviously as well. So maybe we could build a team and get back here, but I mean it's tough. Hurley, he has the quote that we make a hard tournament look easy. I see a lot of people get mad that he says that it's being arrogant, but it's true. I mean, there's this a run like this the past 2 years has never. Maybe go back to John Wooden and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and UCLA, but besides that, this has never happened in this NCAA tournament the way we've done it the past 2 years. It's just you really gotta soak it all in, like you said. This could be the I don't want to think like that. This could be the end of a historic run.
And that quote did, make a lot of people upset, but he's not lying. I would be I would understand if we had lost in like the Elite Eight the last 2 years. And, we obviously didn't make the Final Four and we didn't make back-to-back national championship games, but it's the truth. And I feel like we have, a very short dynasty here with what kind of happened. We have Tristan Newton, like you like to say, who could be one of the top five Huskies of all time after tomorrow night. We have Donovan Clingan, who, honestly will probably be up there if he wins two national championships in 2 years. I mean, Cam Spencer coming in and just filling in for Jordan Hawkins like nothing even happened. It's pretty insane the rise of Hassan Diarra and the rise of Samson Johnson, just kind of all these players just, being able to put it all together and make two historic runs. It's truly great to see.
Yeah, I mean Newton. Yeah, you mentioned top five. I said that in a post yesterday. I mean it's hard to argue it if he comes in and wins two titles in 2 years and is the Bob Cousy Award winner, first team All American. It's gonna be hard to argue. I know maybe that's recency bias. I don't think it is. Donovan, if he wins two in 2 years, say he gets Final Four most outstanding player. If we beat Purdue and he locks up, is he a top 10 Husky of all time in 2 years? I mean, there's a lot of historic Huskies, and this is we'll probably wrap up with this. Hurley says this all the time. We're making history in a program that's hard to make history in with all these titles, but we have the most wins we've ever had. It's just a dominant year. This, if we win against Purdue, I feel like this will go down as the greatest UConn team of all time. Surely up for debate, but I mean the way we handled the tournament, the way we just dominated everyone with five guys that can beat you. I mean, there's a lot of good teams, and that's a discussion for over the summer, whenever they're not right now, but I feel like the way we've been playing, the way we've played all season, I didn't see it coming at the beginning of the year, but I truly feel like this could be the greatest Huskies team of all time, but it won't be unless we beat Purdue. So hopefully we can pull it out on Monday night in Arizona, bring home number 6 in the mix for 6, as they say. Not as cool as the last year's slogan. Of course I say that, and I don't remember what last year's slogan was, but it was much better than in the mix for 6. But we'll move on. Hopefully we'll have a new slogan in a couple of days talking about 7 heaven or something along those lines. But yeah, we'll wrap up UConn Purdue preview. Just enjoy it. It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a historic game between Edey and Clingan. I mentioned in that post. I mean, this is the greatest big man matchup since in the title game since Olajuwon Ewing. Obviously, Edey Clingan. The names are nowhere near that, but for college ranks, it's got to be up there. But yeah, that'll do it here. Episode number 74. Hopefully, our next episode is a very joyous one, talking about UConn's sixth title. But we'll have an episode either way next week, win or lose, and really starting the off-season breakdown. We're going to try to be more consistent in this off-season with content. We kind of slacked over the summer, but we got some big plans. Hopefully, we're going to continue producing episodes. And yeah, that's all we got. Go Huskies. Thanks for watching.